even when I'm down. Got my head in the clouds and my feet on the ground. I got big dreams, gonna make them true.
Yeah, we're going to make those dreams come true here at the Genius Lab. This is Toby Christensen, your self-empowerment trainer. And we're having fun here at the Genius Lab. And we are talking today about the 5 steps to claiming your power. Last time we talked about step 1, which is identifying the triggers. What pushes your buttons? Okay. Today, we're going to talk about how to identify your reaction. Okay. In other words, when somebody pushes your buttons, when you get triggered, you have a reaction. So one of the reactions is you might start screaming at people, like, you stupid fuck, get out of my way. Or you might go punch somebody out, or you might just go internal and get really quiet, or, everybody responds differently. So what I would recommend is to start putting some awareness, start putting some mindfulness to your body, okay? Because it's going to tell you a ton. There's nothing, watch somebody if you've ever been in a situation where you have people of, say, political rivals, but they don't know they're political rivals, and somebody says something political that could really smash the other person in the face, but they don't know that they did it. But if you watch the body language of everybody in the room that does know, you can oh God, why did he say that? So what happens to you when you get triggered? I guarantee you, one way or another, you have some kind of body reaction to it. And so what is your awareness? How are you going to bring yourself to understand let's put it this way. How are you going to learn from your body about getting triggered? Pardon me. So it's really interesting because when you get to know your body, sometimes you get an alert that you're triggered before you emotionally feel triggered. Okay? It sounds kind of weird, but seriously, it's almost like a pre-trigger. My thing for me is my chest collapses, my shoulders go in, and I get really quiet when I get pissed. My stepson always used to say, "Oh, I don't mind when Toby yells and screams. Then nothing's wrong. It's when he's quiet that you have to be careful." And it's true. I go quiet. I shut down. I go completely internal. So it's really important that you understand your body, because it can alert you before you have the emotion. If you get used to how your body works when you're triggered, you can prevent the emotional explosion that often happens afterwards. And so pay attention. So when you get triggered, when somebody pisses you off, what do? Do you push back? Are you a fighter? Are you vocal, or do you shut down? Do you just turn off your mind and quit listening to them? Or do you get passive aggressive? That's a whole nother bag of worms that really can piss people off. I remember a situation where my sister brought somebody over for dinner unexpectedly. And this was at a time when my sister was not in a good place in her life. And the person she brought over was not exactly someone that we would have invited to come in and have a meal with us. And this guy was hungry, and we had only made enough for our family, not my sister and this guy she brought in. So they both sit down, and he starts eating, and my dad gets really, really pissed off, because he's just like, "Well, thank you very much." And and my mom goes, "Oh, here, why don't you try some of these?" And da-da-da. Then my dad starts getting passive aggressive. So he's like, here, have some more. Here, have some more. Here, have some more meat. I don't need any. No one else needs any more, right? Go ahead. And this poor guy was just taking it as though my dad was being nice to him. And actually, my dad was being a rude motherfucker. And when my dad got triggered by shit, that's what happened to him. He would go passive aggressive. I remember being at Ruth's Chris one time and his steak wasn't prepared right. I said, Dad, you're on the VIP list here. Just ask for a different steak. I'm not going to ask for a different steak. Goddamn thing. They should cook it right the first time. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, sometimes people just make mistakes. And so if you get triggered, it's what are you really pissed about? So my dad, he was a pushbacker. He didn't yell necessarily. He got passive aggressive. He got sarcastic, and then he shut down. His body shut down. I remember hugging him once, realizing that this guy is like a freaking rock. And so what I do is I get quiet. That person doesn't exist anymore, or that situation just goes away. So for me, what's been really important is to learn how to productively and helpfully shift my body response, because it's not very healthy, to shut everything down, and it certainly doesn't solve anything, and it doesn't communicate anything. If somebody's pissing me off or has said something that's offensive, if I don't say anything, how are they going to freaking know what's going on? Right? So, and if you can't speak up, if you don't have the courage or the tenacity to say, hey, that was a stupid fucking thing to say, blah, 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 whatever, or what the hell are you thinking of? That's a ridiculous statement. Or I disagree with that, and that's okay. I'm doing a lot of that lately in the political scene. I don't know how my friends could possibly be thinking about what they're thinking, but they are, and they do, and they have their reasons. And their friendship is valuable enough to where I'm certainly not going to go on that. I'm smarter and better than you because you support an idiot in the White House. But that's a whole other thing. So what reaction is most common for you? My friend calls this going on a trip. And I like that. When you get triggered, you go on a trip. Back in the 60s and 70s, they used to use that word. Hey, man, you're tripping. When somebody was freaking out, or they were pissed off, or they were going red. It's like, man, you're tripping. Like, get off it. So but what trip do you go on? Are you a pushback person? Are you a fighter? Are you a shutdowner? What is it that makes you? I think all of the reactions are simply protection of our particular space or peace of mind. I remember when I told you the story about my friend, that said, hey, man, check out my new Porsche. And I'm like, wow, cool. That's awesome. And it was awesome. It was really awesome. And I'm thinking, shit. Oh, man, I'm so jealous. But I didn't show anything. So what I'm more able to do now that I'm aware of it is when my body starts going into reaction mode, I realize, oops, I'm on a trip. And then I can shift. I can do what's called a turn. And we're going to talk about that in the next podcast. Is when you realize that you're on a trip, whether it's something that you say, an emotional reaction, or whether you realize that your body is screaming, shut down, or fight, or I'm going to kill this guy. Once you are aware of it, then you can do something about it. The thing that happens with a lot of people is they're just so freaking unconscious that they get pissed off, they get mad, and they get reactive, and they just start reacting to shit. It's like a dog that doesn't want it the first time on a leash. They're like, what the hell is happening to my neck? And they start freaking out. And so the more resistance that you put on it, the more reactive the dog gets, right? So it's in a human situation, in a conversation, the more tension that you get built, the more likely there is to be a more exaggerated response or reaction to the situation that usually blows it out of appropriateness. In other words, the punishment didn't fit the crime. He didn't need to get smashed in the face. You could have just said, "Hey, I don't agree with what you said." Or you don't need to commit suicide because you don't have a Porsche and, you just don't have one. So, that's okay. Even if it doesn't feel okay in that moment. The other thing to remember is your trips are temporary. Okay? The way that you react, and especially the more understanding you have on how you respond and how you react, the more quickly you will be able to pull yourself out of it. And so think about, between now and our next podcast, think about how do you know that you're on a trip? How do you know that you're being triggered? And then what are you going to do about it? Okay? Is there another helpful way or a better way to respond or react to a situation so that you can get a solution that you desire that's helpful, as opposed to escalating the situation into a greater reactivity? Because generally what happens if you react to someone and you push back or you put some kind of resistance there, then they're going to push it back and the scale just keeps raising, the bar just keeps rising. And then before you know it, you're in complete, utter inappropriateness in terms of the response that equals the situation. So think about your body, think about your emotions, spend some time concentrating, like when I get triggered, what is my common reaction? And then look for how many times you have that during the day. It'll freak you out. But what's cool about it is once you get your finger on it, once you have your finger on the pulse of your own emotional state and your own reactivity, you can begin then to maneuver in a way that does not exacerbate that. So think about that. This is why I use the theme looking up, okay? We bring awareness into your mind, bring awareness into your body. Keep looking up, keep looking at those goals, keep looking at the good things in your life, and raise the bar in goodness. That's the key for today. Have a great one. Keep looking up.